This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not substitute for professional medical advice. Please seek a medical professional or healthcare provider if you're seeking any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Thanks, everyone. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Today we are talking about rabies. Super scary.
Very, very scary. It's people underestimate how scary rabies is because we've had it controlled for such a long time.
Yeah.
It's like zombie apocalypse scary.
Yeah.
Like how it manifests.
And I don't
happens
fully
and all
agree
that.
with a lot of the recommendations and things
Really?
with rabies prophylaxis. Basically taking medicine if you feel like you've been exposed or at risk. Because this is like a completely fatal disease that could be completely prevented with prophylaxis.
Yeah.
So if I have even the inkling that someone is exposed to rabies, I'm going to prophylax.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into it.
Yes. All right, let's start with the history of rabies. So in ancient time, actually you start off with history. You always do the history.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Typically she starts, but since rabies has been around for as long as it's been around, or at least known for as long as it's been known, I wanted to throw in there some history. It's been known for thousands of years, right? So the earliest descriptions of rabies date back to ancient Mesopotamia and Babylon, okay? We're talking about like biblical, around 4,000 years ago. These early texts mention the fear and symptoms associated with this disease, especially in dogs and humans. In the Middle Ages, throughout history, rabies continued to be a feared disease. So during the Middle Ages, rabies was often associated with superstition and was thought to be caused by evil spirits. People knew that rabies was transmitted through animal bites, but they had no effective way to treat it. And then the major turning point in the history of rabies came in the 19th century when the work of Louis Pasteur, a French scientist,
Very famous.
very, very famous.
Scientist.
Yeah, he was pivotal in the scientific world. So in 1885, Pasteur developed the first successful rabies vaccine. He created the vaccine by using a weakened form of the virus, which he tested on animals and then on a young boy who had been bitten by a rabid dog. The boy survived, and Pasteur's vaccine became a landmark in medical history.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's like the vaccine guy.
He is, truly. So then in the 20th century, rabies control efforts expanded globally. So vaccination campaigns for both humans and animals became more common. For example, in Colombia, rabies vaccination for dogs and humans began in the early 20th century, leading to a significant reduction in rabies cases. Similar efforts were made in other countries, including the establishment of rabies research institutes and vaccination programs in India during British colonial times. And then today, rabies is much less common in many parts of the world due to this widespread vaccination and public health effort. However, it remains a significant problem in some regions, particularly in parts of Africa and Asia. Modern strategies to combat rabies include the One Health approach, which integrates human, animal, and environmental health efforts to control the disease more effectively. And then, despite this progress, rabies is still a deadly disease. It is crucial to continue vaccination programs, educate the public about prevention, and improve access to medical care in areas where rabies is still prevalent.
Yeah.
So, nothing to mess around with.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a little bit on like what exposure means and what is an at-risk exposure.
Yeah.
But can you imagine being Louis Pasteur in this? Like where medicine wasn't really known all that much. Yeah. And he's just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to try it. And can you imagine when that little kid survived? He must have been like, oh, thank the Lord.
Exactly. But I mean, at that point, he knew, practically everyone knew, it was either like test us out or just let him die.
He's gonna die. Exactly.
So it was like, well, maybe there's a chance it works, and it worked.
Can you imagine when he
I can't
saw
even.
that it worked?
I can't even. It's
can't
just
even- yeah.
it's amazing what
I know what he did and how far we've come with all of this.
yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about like the actual rabies virus. Okay. So rabies is a serious and deadly disease caused by a virus which belongs to the lyssavirus genus that affects the brain and nervous system. It's classified as a zoonotic disease, meaning it's transmitted from animals to humans. So rabies is super scary, and we'll
Super.
dive a little bit more into it. It just reminds me of my virology days.
I'm sure.
So, funny story is that the person, teacher that taught virology is the same one that taught that parasite class that you took.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
I
I
forgot
love
his
him.
name.
Sharp.
Right. So he taught virology, but in the parasite class, he was known to be more like fun
Yeah.
and kind of laid back. So everyone was like, oh, he's teaching virology.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and do virology. But little did we know that viruses was his thing. That's what he
I thought it
studied.
was parasites. So go figure. I thought he was a parasitologist.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I
think
may
so.
have been wrong. I don't know. That was eons ago.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm thinking about the wrong guy. No, I think I'm thinking about the wrong guy.
Yeah, 'cause
there was another person that taught parasitology.
I took parasitology with Victor.
With Victor, which was sharp, and I know exactly because I remember him
Yeah.
exactly with his pulled back hair and everything. So no, but there was another instructor that also taught parasitology, and he wasn't that bad either. But everyone was like, "Oh, he teaches virology.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take virology." But viruses were his thing.
Yeah.
So, and I thought virology was gonna be like learning about like these diseases, right? No, ma'am.
Oh boy.
It was not.
Oh boy.
It was literally learning the biology of viruses, right?
so-
All in the name. You would expect that I should have known that, right? I did not. I did not know that. I thought it was going to be a cool virus class, just like everyone else. I still remember the cover of the book that I had to buy. That was hard AF. Virology was so hard. We had to
could
learn
imagine.
every genus of viruses out there.
Oof.
Okay? Every genus. The way that they replicated, was it a DNA virus? Was it an RNA virus? How did it replicate inside a cell?
Yeah.
What machinery did it use to cause infection? How it was... listen.
A lot.
I wanted to
struggle.
cry. Yeah, I wanted to cry.
I remember.
In that class.
I actually so vividly remember us walking from like somewhere where the gym was and like we're walking past a lake or like whatever. And you're there telling me how stressed you are for an upcoming like midterm or something about virology. You're like,
insane.
I have all these lists to memorize and I don't even know. And you're like freaking out. And I'm
It
like,
was so many viruses.
Exactly.
It was So many.
Oh man.
But I will say, when I went to medical school, I knew my shit on viruses.
You're like,
I know my shit.
I'm here.
Right, so
Bring
I'm
it.
happy in the sense that, like, retrospectively,
Yeah.
that like I learned a lot, right, and I got my money's worth in that class.
Yeah, you did.
But Jesus, the stress, and I was
Damn.
like, this is not what I thought it
Yeah.
was gonna be.
And you kind of like realize there, you're like, infectious disease is not for me.
So I thought, like, and when you start a class, you're allowed to pull out of a class without
Right.
any,
Like in the beginning weeks or
without any
whatever.
consequences, right? You're allowed to drop a class. But the thing is that I thought that we were learning about, the basis, right?
Yeah,
The basis
yeah.
of viruses, and then it would eventually lead to all these diseases. No, girl. It was a full semester of viruses. It never ended. It never ended. Ever. Even after my final, I was like dreaming about viruses. Okay.
Oh my God.
Anyways, all right. I should have just gone to like epidemiology or something. I don't know. Worked for like the CDC or something.
Oh, I thought that too until I took an epidemiology course and it was
sorry,
all
that's not for me.
math
Yeah,
and
that's not for me.
stats.
It's
And
all
I'm
stats,
like,
yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. Goodbye.
I'm out.
Bye-bye.
I like the whole distribution, how it moves, like what happens, like all that. But then when I saw all the math and stats and everything and the calculations and whatever, I was like,
Yeah.
immediately no.
Yeah. It's an immediate no for me.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
All right. So let's talk a little bit of the transmission of rabies, right? So we said it's zoonotic. So it starts off in an animal and then ends up infecting the human. So animal bites is the most common way that rabies is going to be transmitted. It's through bites of infected animals, right? So when an animal with rabies bites another animal or a person, that virus in its saliva enters the body through the wound, right? So another way that you can get rabies is by scratches and open wounds. So rabies can also spread through saliva of an infected animal that gets onto an open cuts or scratches of the skin. This means that even if the animal didn't bite you, but scratched you, and the saliva gets into the wound, you do have a risk of infection.
Yeah.
Licking. This is the one that I was like, oh, can you imagine? You have like a cut and an animal comes and licks you and that's it. Like rabies.
Yeah.
So again, infected animal licks a person, broken skin, mucous membranes, mixing of the saliva and the viruses, infection. Okay? I wish everyone can see me right now. It's like doomsday.
Well, they will. And like whoever's watching
I'm playing a movie. I'm playing Yvette has like a burn on her ankle and some little rabid dog comes and licks me and I die.
The thing is that a rabid dog, when the dog is rabid, they're not just going to go to you and go, okay, I'm out.
No, but like what happens if the dog isn't presenting with symptoms yet?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Right? And it just comes and says, oh, you're going so cute. Oh, but it licked my wound. Right? And you can't clean it because you have to walk home or something. I don't know. I have a movie playing in my head. It's happening. I died. I died in the movie. Okay. Carrying on. Okay. Common carriers.
She had an Alfred Hitchcock movie playing.
No, I literally just had a... I'm telling you, this is my PTSD from virology.
I see that.
100%. I'm already...
Thank God you didn't take parasitology.
My blood pressure. No, I can't. I can't. Nope. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it. Because I can't even say the words right now, guys. I'm like the word maggot to me.
And it wasn't.
Oh God, no.
It wasn't too much about the maggot.
No,
so.
just everything. Scabies, just everything about a parasite. Like the idea of another animal living inside me,
feeding off of you,
just feeding off of me, is nasty.
You don't even know it's there,
and you don't even know it's there. No, ma'am. Hard pass. Immediate no. Any way that I can express no.
Man, your brother and I had like a great time in that class. You would have had a great time.
No, I would have been throwing up the entire time.
Or
I would have never slept. I would have never slept. I would have thought that I had like a parasite in me in every moment of the day.
I'll tell you, I love sushi, and I did not eat sushi for like that
Don't
whole semester.
Because I'm going to be thinking about parasites and sushi.
That whole semester, I didn't eat sushi, that's a long time for me not to eat sushi.
I literally have goosebumps right now. Okay. Anyways. Okay,
right.
So let's talk about the common carriers of rabies. So the animals most commonly associated with spreading rabies is going to be, I don't know, to me, I think of like a dog or a bat, right? So obviously the domestic dogs. So they are responsible. Julia?
Bats were very cute.
First, the lizard. Now, a bat?
Yes. Have you not seen
No, I don't want to see it either.
Fruit bat.
Yeah, they're cute. They kind of look like a rat, all right?
No, they look like a flying fox. They actually are called flying foxes.
It looks like a flying rat.
Look at it. Guys, I'm going to put a photo right here. I'm going to put it right here of what I'm talking about. Flying fox.
I'm going to say a fruit bat.
It's cute. It kind of reminds me of Newman, but with wings.
I'm just going to exit this from my phone because I don't want to come back to it. I don't want to randomly look at my phone and then freak out. All right. Anyways, Julie thinks weird animals are cute.
It's so ugly that it's cute.
No thanks. No thanks. The next thing you're going to show me is that like a praying mantis is cute. Don't even go and tell me that a praying mantis is cute.
Have you seen the orchid looking ones?
Nope. Nor do I want to. No, Julie, that's where I cross the line. That's where I cross
with my phone. I'm not.
That's where I cross the line.
iPad.
Nope, I don't want it.
It looks like a flower.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want a flower because then every time I look at an orchid, I'm going to think it's an animal that's about to attack me. Because that's what it does. The praying mantis prays until it attacks.
They do that to other males. They decapitate it once it's done. They don't do anything to humans.
I don't want it. I don't want it. All right. So we're going to go back to the dogs. Okay. They are responsible for the majority of human rabies cases worldwide. Okay. And then also wild animals. So bats, raccoons, foxes, skunks.
You cannot say a raccoon is not cute.
No, raccoons are cute.
Okay. Then.
But I also think they're cute from afar because those little pieces of shit are crazy too.
Why I want to pet raccoon?
Why would you do that? It's gonna bite you.
Ask him.
When it bites him, I'm gonna be there laughing, and I'm gonna go to the emergency room with him, and I'm gonna don't treat him. Don't treat him. It's his own fault. You deserve rabies. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I would be the first one freaking out. I'd be the first one freaking out. I'd be like, I told you! I told you! Yeah, exactly. I would be going to the back stock room of the emergency room searching for the rabies.
Man, you don't even work here.
I don't give a shit.
You're a pediatrician. Doesn't look like I care. I took that virology class, okay?
Just all the trauma into one concentrated moment.
Oh my, okay.
All right.
Unhinged.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. So geographical variations. Okay. So in some regions, specific animals are more likely to carry rabies. For example, in certain areas, rabies is more commonly spread by bats and other wildlife. So then you have the human to human transmission. So this is also scary.
Zombies.
Yeah. While extremely rare, rabies can be transmitted to human through organ transplants or if the donor was infected with a virus. So if bitten or scratched by an animal, it's crucial to seek medical attention, basically to rule out the fact that you may or may not have been exposed to rabies. So post-exposure prophylaxis is really important, and then this can obviously prevent the virus from causing illness. And a lot of counties, like Miami-Dade County, you are mandated to have your dogs rabies vaccinated.
Oh yeah. And
they will fine you.
They will,
And they'll find you and find
That's what I was gonna say. Both.
Yeah.
They really
and
will.
with a D and with an E.
Yeah.
Find you and find
And you have to you can't even get away with it, like saying, "Oh, my dog or whatever died."
Yeah.
You can't. You have to provide proof that that animal passed, because if not, again, fine and fined.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Good, because this shit's scary.
Yeah, it's
Scary. So I'm glad that they're that aggressive with
Yeah.
it. Like they have to be.
When an owner says, I'm not sure if they're up to date with their vaccine, I'm like, this is very simple, especially here in Miami-Dade.
Yeah.
Did you get the ticket or did you not? Because
right.
they will send you a citation.
They will find you.
They will find you. So
Yeah.
actually, my parents, just being the way that they are annoying, they wanted to tell Miami-Dade that Ginger had moved with me, right?
Uh-huh.
So then,
But Ginger passed like, I was like, oh no.
no, they never provided proof that she moved with me, right?
Okay.
So they kept on, the citations and the citations and citations. Ginger was under me. She was under my name.
Oh,
so guess who got sent to collections?
what?
Yes, my love. I got sent to collections by these people. Luckily, I was able to pay it off because I left, right? Like I left to medical school.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when I come back and I see that I was sent to collections, right? I called immediately Miami-Dade and I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this fine? And then they're like, oh, for Ginger. And then I was like, Ginger's been dead for years.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, first of all, no one ever reported that. And two, no one ever provided proof that she left with you. And then obviously I'm not going to like out my parents and be like, no, she didn't leave with me. But no, girl, regardless, I had to pay it. Right? I had to pay it. And thankfully they didn't like post it like onto like my credit.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, in Miami-Dade County does not play.
They don't play.
They don't play with rabies. I don't know what happened, like who got traumatized with rabies, and the upper workings of it, but like they don't play.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the even scarier part of all of this, which are the symptoms. Horrible. It has an incubation period. What does that mean? So after being bitten or scratched by an infected animal, the rabies virus can take anywhere from a few days to several months to show symptoms. Okay. So you could be like in a cruise somewhere else and living your life 6 months later, and then anyway, so pretty bad. So then what are the early symptoms? They are often mild and they can be easily mistaken by the flu. Okay, so these include fever, headache, general weakness or discomfort, and then sometimes maybe even pain or tingling on the site of the bite. Now, advanced symptoms. As the virus spreads through the nervous system, more severe symptoms develop. These can be divided into two forms: furious rabies and paralytic rabies. Both sound and are horrific. Let's start with furious rabies. So agitation and anxiety. The person may become very agitated and anxious. There can be confusion, hallucinations, and bizarre
I think what
behavior.
people mostly associate rabies with, like the people that are like, you're crazy.
Yeah, you look like a rabid person, a rabid dog.
This next symptom is the one that I get freaked out about the most.
Too.
I don't know
Every
why.
time I
It's
see
so
it, like
weird.
in TikTok and stuff like that, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does it do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right?
This
The
is why it freaks
mechanism.
me out. Yeah.
So hydrophobia. So it's a fear of water.
And not just like fear. We're talking about crazy fear of water.
Exactly. Like if just look it up anywhere, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you're gonna find one of these videos, and it's literally a person's being presented, the person with the virus is being presented with just a cup of water or a glass of water, whatever, what have you. I don't know how it happens that they just see it and they start like convulsing, freaking out, trying to run away, trying to get away from the water.
Yeah.
Bizarre. It's bizarre, and it's well, I mean, and then think about it. Us humans, we die without water.
Yeah, I know.
It's immediately, but I mean, not immediately, but it's a lot faster than like going without food or whatever. How long is it? I think it's like you can't survive over 48 or 36 hours without water, something like that.
No, yeah, 2 days probably.
Yeah, exactly. So this is known as hydrophobia, and it's a classic symptom of when you get to this point. The person may have difficulty swallowing and show panic, and just when they're presented with liquids. And then hyperactivity. So the person may become hyperactive and excitable.
Oh, well, yeah. So hyperactive and excitable. There was actually reported, I think it was on the news, that this lady had rabies, and her symptoms was hypersexual.
Holy cow.
Stimulus.
So she could have been like sporting like that though.
Yeah. So she was just like, she had an increased like sex drive, basically.
And bodily fluids. She could spread it even easier. Anyway, okay. The next form, paralytic rabies. So you have muscle weakness with this. This form progresses more slowly, and it's characterized by that muscle weakness. Then the person may experience paralysis starting from the site of the bite and spreading throughout the body. And then eventually the person may fall into a coma. And then the final stages, so regardless of the form, rabies ultimately leads to coma or death if it's not treated promptly after exposure. The disease is almost always fatal once symptoms appear. That's why it's so important that even if you think you have an inkling, like prophylactically treat. Rabies is a serious disease that needs to be diagnosed quickly and accurately. So let's talk about how it gets diagnosed.
Yeah. So it's not easy, and it's a lot based on history. The initial assessment is when someone is bitten by an animal, the doctors first need to look at the type of animal and the circumstances of the bite. So this is that history that we're talking about. Like, well, what kind of animal? Like, let's just say, for example, if it's a dog, was it your dog? Was it a stranger dog? Was it a domestic dog? Was it a street dog? What were you actually doing? Did the dog literally just come out of nowhere and attack you and bite you? Or did you go and provoke the attack? So was it provoked or was it unprovoked?
Right.
And then you would go into, well, who's the owner? Has the dog been vaccinated? All these things, right? So it's a huge history that we have to take, right? And then they obviously ask questions to understand if the animal was acting strangely, right? So like, was it rabid? Was it like foaming at the mouth? So, because that can be a sign of rabies. So observation of the animal, if the animal that bit that individual is available, then they will observe it for any signs of rabies. So for example, domestic animals like dogs and cats can be watched for 10 days to see if they develop any symptoms. But again, when these symptoms can last forever. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if they remain healthy, then rabies is unlikely. A lot of places actually do autopsies. Yeah. Unfortunately, they have to kill the animal, right? So to observe and do an autopsy to really see if there was rabies or not.
I think that mostly happens when there's an attack.
Like an attack. So they need to do laboratory tests to confirm rabies. Laboratory tests if they're needed, right? These tests are usually done on samples from the animal's brain after it has died. And here are the main tests that are used. So you have the DFAT, so that stands for direct fluorescent antibody test. This is the most common test that scientists look at the brain tissue under a microscope and see if it glows when it indicates the presence of rabies virus, right? So they basically just attach a little antibody with a marker, and then they'll see if it lights up or not. You can also do the RT-PCR, which stands for reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. RT-PCR. Okay. So this test looks for the genetic material of the rabies virus, right? And it is very accurate and can confirm the presence of the virus, even if the DFAT, that previous one that I talked about, is negative. Then you can do postmortem testing, which is kind of what we had just mentioned. So unfortunately, rabies can only be definitively diagnosed after the animal has died, right? So this means that if a person is bitten, they need to start treatment right away without waiting for test results.
Absolutely. Okay.
So another is the human diagnosis. So for humans, if rabies is suspected, doctors may take some samples of saliva, blood, spinal fluid, and skin tests to test for the virus. These tests aren't always reliable. Treatment is often started based on the likelihood of exposure, right?
Yeah, and I think it's the safest route.
Yes. Importance of the timely diagnosis. Quick and accurate diagnosis is crucial because once the symptoms of rabies appear, the disease is almost always fatal. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the video. If I think that there's any exposure of rabies,
Yeah.
you prophylax.
Yeah. Do not pass go.
Yeah.
Just-
I'm not going to wait for you to present symptoms.
Exactly.
Okay?
Just
Early diagnosis helps ensure that people who have been exposed can receive necessary treatment to prevent the disease from developing.
yeah. So obviously it's huge to prevent it, but how do you treat it? So immediate action, as we've kept on saying. If you are bitten or scratched by an animal that may have rabies, it is crucial to act quickly. Wash the wound thoroughly with soap and water for at least 15 minutes. This helps remove the virus from the surface of the skin. Next, medical attention. After you've cleaned the wound, seek medical attention immediately. A healthcare professional will assess the risk of rabies and decide on the next steps. Now we go to the treatment of it, right? So the post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP. This is a PEP. So this is the primary treatment for rabies after exposure. It involves a series of rabies vaccinations that are given over a few weeks. PEP is very effective at preventing the disease if started soon after exposure. That's the key. Then there's a vaccination schedule, and that usually includes doses given on the day of exposure and then additional doses on specific days following the first dose.
Yeah.
It's important to complete the entire series for full protection. Next is rabies immunoglobulin. Yeah. Anyway, so in some cases, especially if the exposure is severe or involves a high-risk animal, doctors may also administer rabies immunoglobulin. I'm having a hard time saying that word. This provides immediate antibodies to fight the virus until the vaccine starts working. And then, of course, prevention is key. So the best way to prevent rabies is through vaccination. Pets should regularly be vaccinated against rabies, and people who are at high risk, such as veterinarians or travelers to areas where rabies is common, may receive these PEP vaccinations.
And don't be like my parents and lie about your dog.
Please. And then lastly, awareness and education. Understanding the importance of timely treatment and following the vaccination schedule is crucial. Delays or failure to complete the vaccine series can result in the disease developing, which is almost always fatal once symptoms appear. Okay, so stick to it, guys.
Yes. All right, let's talk a little bit about like the impact on public health and the prevalence of rabies. Like now that we scared the shit out of you, let's talk about how common it really is, because that's what you probably want to know. Like, what are my chances of getting rabies?
Exactly.
All right. So global impact. Rabies is found on every continent, right? Except for Antarctica.
Well, yeah, I mean, not penguins.
Who's the asshole that's going to bring it over there?
There's going to be an
I'm just
asshole.
kidding.
You know that there is going to be one eventually.
Who's the jerk? All right. So it causes around 59,000 human deaths each year, with the vast majority occurring in developing countries, particularly Asia and Africa. So some regions are obviously more affected than others. For instance, India experiences a higher number of rabies cases, accounting for a significant portion of the global rabies deaths. Similarly, countries like Cambodia and parts of Africa also face significant challenges in controlling the rabies virus. Rabies is primarily spread through, again, bites, right, of infected animals, dogs, bats, but dogs are the most common carriers, responsible for 99% of human rabies cases.
See, the bats are okay.
They're not okay. And I'm not going to take my chances, like I already explained. So challenges in control. Controlling rabies is really difficult due to the several factors, including wide range of animals, the presence of stray dogs, limited resources for vaccination, public health education in many affected regions, the incubation period, you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's really hard and challenging to control that. Now, there are efforts to reduce rabies, so many countries working to eliminate rabies through vaccination programs for both animals and humans. For example, China aims to eliminate human rabies by 2030 through comprehensive vaccination and public health strategies. Amazing. Let's see. I wonder where they are with that.
The thing is that China does things very
Differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, whatever. Like, Not talking politics here.
No, negative. Never here.
So importance of awareness is obviously you need to aim for education. The more education, the more awareness. So public awareness and education are crucial to preventing rabies. Understanding the risks and knowing what to do when bitten by an animal can help reduce the incidence of this deadly disease. So when you talk about rabies, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
But there's cases where even just like in a medical, like a vignette, right? So a vignette is basically just a patient presentation and what you would do about it. So if you have someone that's like, I don't know, they go on vacation, a family goes on vacation and they are sleeping and then they wake up to 2 flying bats, right? You are actually
Your nightmare.
Yeah, well, that's my nightmare, right? I will die, right? Regardless, I'll die. But if you go and just ask what the guidelines are, they will tell you that you don't need it, right? Because you were bit by one. But truly, if you ask a lot of providers out there, they're going to prophylax you because we're trying to not have a fatal disease, 100% fatal disease.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Off you, basically, just because you did not vaccinate, right? Something so easy, right?
Right.
And also, like, the bats, their teeth are so tiny and sharp that a lot of people think that if a bat, let's say, I don't know, like, hits their hand or something because it just flew into me, a lot of the times there's a bite.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know about it because of how sharp their little teeth are.
Well, especially vampire bats are, I mean, they're meant for that. They're meant to get on animals and then...
Yeah, and just gnaw on them without them even feeling it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Ew. Julie, I don't want it. No, I don't want that. So anyways, at the end of the day, if you feel like you've been exposed to rabies, go to your nearest hospital.
Please.
Hospitals usually are the ones that carry that. You can call animal control. They'll help you guide you too. I don't know. I would call everyone. I would call the hospital, animal control, poison control. Everyone needs to be aware about Yvette's potential prophylaxis requirements. So.
Yeah, but definitely animal control is super important, especially if it was a stray dog or something like that, because obviously if it's by an owner, then,
But again, sometimes these people say, no, you're not at risk.
Who?
Like animal control and...
no. Yeah, I'm only saying that, like, if you find an animal that bit you and that animal is just loose, then definitely call animal control, but they got to pick that animal up, because they need to pick them up, test it, do all the things. And they just can't be roaming around. And that's why, like, developing countries, you see dogs roaming around everywhere. And that's why you have more of these cases because they're just everywhere. So it's it's all part of it, But anyways, this was rabies.
Yeah. We hope you guys enjoyed rabies.
Yeah. I know it was a little random one, but it was pretty fascinating. I mean, rabies is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy virus that people underestimate because we have it so well controlled here. But I'm telling you guys, just look up on social media.
Oh,
like
no, I don't
somebody with rabies, like with the actual symptoms of it, late stage, that, they're unfortunately going to pass. But do it.
That's like scary to me.
It's very scary.
No. Nope.
It's very scary.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Check out our Patreon for more full episodes. There's a bunch already there. It's a full catalog of more episodes. We're a little more loose there because we're behind the paywall. And you're also helping to support the show. So that's patreon.com/Funny Medicine Podcast. Check us out on all forms of social media. We are everywhere. We also would love to hear you guys if you don't have social media or whatever. funnymedicine305@gmail.com. Yes. Email us through there. And we
love you guys.
See you on the next one.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Like, comment, review us on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, etc.
Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Funny Medicine Podcast. Our Gmail is at funnymedicine305@gmail.com. And remember, we are not diagnosing you.
Definitely not. Just funny stuff.
See you later, guys.